So I'm looking at London Met and what we did, what happened, what we're doing about it. Some of you know some of the stories about what's happened at London Metropolitan, so you'll know why the shipwreck shore is something that is in there in the title. And I was rehearsing this presentation with a learning development colleague this week who's just gone for voluntary redundancy because doesn't see the point in staying there any longer. And he practically cried by the end because it seems for some of us it is a shipwreck shore and there's some really sad stories that need to be told. But I'm going to try not to focus on that too much. So, embedding plus, I think, is how I'm trying to term what we used to do at London Met. In that we've always had extracurricular support that was student-facing, that students could access when they wanted to access something. And I've brought some of the advertising that we've got here, and including one of our really fat brochures, all the different sorts of courses that we did run, from study and academic skills programs, spreadsheets and Excel, essay writing courses, dissertation courses, and they also always changed. Like in our mind, we might have set up an essay writing course thinking that undergraduates would turn up, and one year you'd walk in and it was full of international postgraduate students who'd chosen to use the course to orientate themselves to studying in the UK. And we thought that was a virtue. It was great that things had a serendipitous route and unpredictable outcomes. We liked that. But we worked with staff as well. We did embedding with academics. And I've heard some people around the room saying, yes, you've had that moment where they say, can you come in and do 10 minutes on essay writing for 200 students next Friday afternoon? And you think, no. But where it's worked really well, we've gone in, we've had conversations with academics, and instead of going in and doing that 10 minutes on essay writing, we've talked about embedding writing across the curriculum. What about if we did 10 minutes of writing in class every week? And we worked up different writing activities that would work. And initially you might go in and support the member of staff doing that, and then afterwards hopefully they run with it. But then, as Pat said, how rooted is it? And you'd find that next year it's gone anyway. You know? So there were successes and there were disappointments. We also worked to develop our own resources, but locate good resources that were out there that other people were using, to customise them ourselves, to work with staff to customise generic resources for their own specific situations. And we'd work with course teams to review and redevelop one individual module or a whole programme. And we've even worked with course teams where they've developed a new degree programme and they've mapped the embedding of digital literacies, academic literacies and employability across the year and across the programme as a whole. And we hope that that stays as a dialogue where we can go in and help flesh out programmes like that, talk about successes and failures, bring resources to the table if that's what's wanted. So that's what we had. And at one point, at North London University, before it became part of London Met, there was me, point 8, and I worked it up and wheedled and wriggled and jiggled till I had 2,000 hours of HPL to spend. And we worked out that we were hitting about 3,000 students in our direct contact with students and about 5,000 to 7,000 in immediate contact through embedded work. But then with the hope that there was a trickle down, that wasn't a one-off, that there was long-term consequences. I love this model. It's from the ground up. It's proactive sometimes, or proactively reactive, where someone says, hello, come and do this with me. I liked the fact that it was contingent and emergent, and that you didn't know what your year would bring. That I'd go in with my performance review and my targets for the year, and sort of halfway through the year you think, well, scrap that lot, this is what we're actually doing. And it was usually much more exciting and creative and dynamic. Fed into staff development, course development. We felt it gave us embedded research opportunities. It enhanced our reputation as an institution, which brought us third stream money. That So there were even managerialist imperatives that said, this isn't such a bad idea after all. But it was a bad fit with regimes of control. Managers don't like something where they can't say, well, actually, here's the policy, here's the strategy, this is what you do. These are who you talk to make it happen, or worse, these are the people I will talk to make it happen, and then I'll tell you what we decided in this room over here without you having any input. We also got the edict. Right, from now on, learning support is to be embedded. Right, well, we've now got a policy, so obviously that's true, that is what's happening. But it's by disciplined staff who are overworked, under-resourced, and frankly suffering from change exhaustion. We at our institution have been going through change since 1999, when we went towards the merger in the first place. We are now redeveloping from 15 credit half semester modules to 30 credit year-long modules by teams of staff that every time they reach a new milestone, get an S18 redundancy notice in their inbox. Or they're in India getting new business for the university and get a phone call, right, you know that post you thought you had? It's gone. What little bit of extracurricular work, stuff that we've got left, massively cut, massively contested and controlled. It's not in the learning developers' remit now to say, this is what we think we should be doing with students. It has to come down from the DVC, what we're going to do. So it's a different world and a different space. So some of us thought about doing some of this virtually. I'm sure this is not a surprise. Mark already mentioned someone here who was doing a course for 200 students online. So this is not a surprise. But what some of us liked about the idea of doing it virtually was that there were new potentials and new horizons for leaving physical space and starting to engage with this in cyber or hyper-real space. Could we start to see this as an opportunity and not a problem? Could we change our own mindsets? I mean, I think on one of the tables it said, can you model the good practice that you want your students to go through? So our students go through massive, risky, life-changing processes. Maybe we needed to as well. So, at a more mundane level, we're developing a website for students. We're calling it the Study Hub, so that you get away with it. Is it academic support? Is it learning support? Is it development? Is it this? Is it that? We're calling it the Study Hub. We think that has meaning. It's in development right now. If people are interested in having a look at what we've got up there, we can share the URL for all of you. But we also thought, what's the potential for going into Web 2 and animation worlds? And particularly our first little foray was into Second Life, but we're moving into animation proper later on. And could we use space differently there? One of the things we did was develop this, our Animate Challenge, and it's an animation challenge. And the idea is to set up a challenge for our academic staff and our students. Can you research an academic skill, a digital literacy, a learning development topic? As a student, can you research it? Can you find information out? And can you do something with that information? Can you represent it in different ways? In fact, can we turn some of the learning development work over to the students with confidence in an empowering way, rather than that academic, that subject academic, apologies to Mark, who still has sort of remedialist hat on and thinks, yes, and if you need remedial help, this is what I can do with you, you know? We've built this resource and we would like people like you to come in and play with us and do it as well. There's some simple tools to use. We've got some context on creativity, inquiry-based learning and problem-based learning. Some input. You can't play any of this to you, obviously, because it never works when you try and show them. But what we did was, we worked with some research at Falmouth University, where they interviewed third-year students about their writing strategies, and they gave the third-year voices to the first-year animation students, and they turned them into animations. And I thought that was brilliant, and there was a lot of mileage in this. So we've got them here, we stripped the voices out again, and we've got the idea of we can set the students the task of listening to these voices. These were real student voices, and they can respond in various ways. And then if they're intrigued, they can go on and research new topics. And I think I can't go on anymore, because I think that's about my 10 minutes. I've got some other stuff.
Show it.
Oh. In there's some examples of some animations that the Falmouth students did do. Can I play one?
Yeah.
Have I got the sound?
But when I first start writing, I have to write with a fountain pen on paper, and just it's like it flows down your brain, like through your arm and onto the paper. Because I don't know, I find typing is really rigid, and it's brilliant when you then type it up and then you move bits about, and it's great for editing. But when you're trying to get it out of your head, it's almost, I definitely type a lot faster than I think anyway, but writing seems more natural.
I like to write with a pencil.
I thought this was beautiful, and we needed to get more mileage out of it. We've only got space here for 2 examples, but if you get in touch with Falmouth, Caroline Cash down there, they'll send you the whole cache of them to use yourself. All these lovely animations that the students made. And I just thought it was something that we could run with. We could try and do this with students. We could get staff who might be a little bit anti-embedding, doing it themselves, and say, well, do it this way. Do it with the students. Work with the website we're building and resources there, and get the students to research the topic, produce resources, and start disseminating to other students. So we thought there was life after. You will embed learning support. We've got examples of things that students have done in Second Life. There's a wonderful example of a student who's chosen a bee, a 3-dimensional bee, as an avatar. So you can look at also, if you go into Second Life to do things like this, what avatars do students choose and why? How are they inhabiting these academic spaces? We had a belief that if you did some of this work in Second Life, some non-traditional students, once they'd got over the barrier of being in a technical space, were more empowered and more creative in Second Life than they felt in a traditional classroom. So we started to find even more creative, good things happening in the process. This was a learning space that one of our tutors built. These are reflective spaces here for students to go to after a session and to talk about what they'd learned. And he built little enigmatic puzzle cubes that he just threw into the Second Life space. And the students had to work together to solve the puzzles. So it was a different way of doing reflective and creative learning. And then one time he put a load of boxes in there, and the students had to investigate the boxes and choose whether they used the things that were inside the boxes. So again, lots of different ways of disrupting normality, but making that disruption right, making that something that you actually embraced and celebrated. Sorry if I can't remember. Thank you. I'll stop. I won't use the computer.